If you're over 50, you've likely seen the headlines, "Take 3 cloves and feel like you're 20 again." It sounds like another internet miracle promise, doesn't it? But as a physician, I look at that statement differently. I don't see a magic trick. I see a biological conversation. Today, we're going to deconstruct the Clove Protocol, not to sell you a fantasy of turning back the clock to your college days, but to show you how 3 small buds can technically recalibrate the internal systems that make you feel sluggish, stiff and foggy. I'm Dr. Christine Rodriguez, and this is the Men's Vitality Hub. I've spent my career helping men over 45 navigate the transition from working against their bodies to optimizing their biology. Science tells us that the active compound in cloves, a potent phenol called Eugenol, has a specific affinity for male vascular and metabolic health. But there's a catch. If you use them the wrong way, you're just wasting your time, or worse, irritating your digestive lining. In a few minutes, I'll show you the activation method that ensures these nutrients actually reach your bloodstream instead of just passing through. Let's have an honest conversation. When a man crosses that 45 or 50-year-old threshold, he often notices a lag in his hardware. You wake up and your brain is ready to conquer the day. The ambition is there, the experience is there, but the body feels like it's waiting for a software update that never arrives. The mitochondrial slump inside. Every one of your cells, you have tiny power plants called mitochondria. Think of them as the engines of your car. When you're 20, those engines are brand new, highly efficient, and they burn fuel cleanly. By the time you're 50, those engines have carbon buildup. They aren't broken, but they're struggling to turn food and oxygen into the ATP, the energy currency your muscles and brain need. This is why you feel that disproportionate fatigue. You aren't lazy, your cellular spark plugs are just firing slower. The inflammation ghost. The second major shift is something we call inflammaging. It's a low-grade, invisible fire that starts smoldering in your joints, your arteries, and even your brain. It doesn't always hurt, but it acts like a parasitic drain on your battery. Imagine trying to run a marathon while wearing a weighted vest. That's what your heart and lungs are doing when your body is chronically inflamed. Still with me? That shows you're serious about your vitality. This attention to detail is what separates men who age out from those who level up. Our real-life scenario, the case of Standard Stan. I remember a patient, let's call him Stan 54. He came into my clinic and said, "Dr. Christine, I feel like I'm moving through waist-deep water all day." On paper, Stan was healthy. His labs were fine, but his quality of life was declining because his microcirculation was sluggish. His blood was literally moving slower through the tiny capillaries that feed his brain and muscles. We didn't give him a stimulant. We gave him a vessel opener. Why cloves enter the chat? This is where the humble clove moves from the spice rack to the medicine cabinet. We aren't interested in the flavor. We are interested in the eugenol. This compound is one of the most concentrated antioxidants in the plant kingdom. While most people think of it for toothaches, urologists and longevity specialists are looking at how it scrubs the oxidative stress off those mitochondrial engines. The long-term decay. If you don't address this lag now, it becomes a permanent setting. Your arteries begin to stiffen, a process called atherosclerosis, and your brain begins to shrink slightly from lack of oxygenated blood flow. By using small consistent biological signals like cloves, you are essentially telling your body, don't settle for the decline. Keep the pipes open. But how does a tiny bud actually change the texture of your blood flow? The answer lies in a gas that every man over 50 needs more of, and cloves might be the secret trigger for it. Rhetorical question. Are you ready to stop negotiating with your fatigue and start providing your cells with the high-octane support they're actually asking for? If we want to understand why 3 cloves can make a 50-year-old man feel like a younger version of himself, we have to talk about nitric oxide. This is the holy grail of men's health. Nitric oxide is a gas produced in your blood vessels that tells them to relax and open up. When you're 20, your body produces it in abundance. By 50, your production has likely dropped by half. Cloves contain a high concentration of eugenol, a compound that researchers have found can actually stimulate the endothelium, the thin lining of your blood vessels. Imagine your arteries are like a garden hose. Over time, that hose gets stiff and kinked. Eugenol acts like a softener, helping the hose become flexible again. When your vessels open up, blood moves faster, carrying more oxygen to your brain and more nutrients to your muscles. This is why the fog starts to lift. Still with me? That commitment to the how is what makes you a smarter patient. When you improve microcirculation, you aren't just getting energy. you're getting oxygenation. I had a patient, Jim, who was 58. He complained that his hands and feet were always cold and his morning workouts felt like he was dragging a sled. Within 2 weeks of adding a consistent clove habit, his extremity warmth returned. His heart didn't have to pump as hard because the pipes were finally open. Think of your body like a classic car. If you leave it out in the rain, it rusts. In the human body, that rust is called oxidative stress. It's the byproduct of living, breathing, and eating. For a man over 50, your anti-rust system is usually overwhelmed. Cloves have one of the highest OREX scores. That's the scale we use to measure antioxidant power. By consuming them, you're essentially spray painting a protective coating over your cells, preventing the rust from slowing down your metabolism. One of the most profound effects of improved circulation is mental clarity. The brain is the most expensive organ in the body. It consumes 20% of your energy. When your blood flow is restricted, the brain goes into power save mode. You feel indecisive, slow to respond, and mentally tired. By using cloves to support vascular dilation, you're essentially flipping the breaker back on. But there is a massive mistake men make here. They think if they just swallow the cloves whole like a pill, they'll get the benefits. They won't. In fact, if you don't prepare them correctly, your stomach acid will destroy the very compounds you need before they ever reach your blood. Why would you settle for a clogged system when the key to opening your circulation is likely sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now? We've all heard the saying, you are what you eat. But in my clinic, I tell my patients, you are what you absorb. For a man over 50, this is where the wheels often start to come off the wagon. Your digestive system is the gateway to your vitality. But as we age, our stomach acid production drops, and our gut lining becomes less efficient at pulling nutrients out of our food. Imagine you're pouring high-octane fuel into a car, but the fuel line has a dozen tiny leaks. No matter how much you spend at the pump, the engine never gets the full power. This is exactly what happens when your digestion is sluggish. You eat protein to build muscle and vegetables for energy, but your body only harvests 50 or 60% of it. The rest just causes bloating and fatigue. This is the post-lunch crash that so many men accept as a part of getting older. In traditional systems of medicine, cloves were prized as a warming spice. Biologically, what does that mean? Eugenol and the other essential oils in cloves stimulate the production of digestive enzymes. These are the biological scissors that snip your food into tiny pieces your cells can actually use. By using cloves correctly, you're essentially sharpening those scissors. Still with me? That focus on the gut-brain connection is what separates a healthy man from a vital one. I worked with a man named Robert, 52, who was a dedicated cyclist. He was fit, but he told me, Dr. Christine, every time I eat a meal, I feel like I need a 3-hour nap. My energy just vanishes. Robert wasn't overeating. He was suffering from dysbiosis and poor enzyme activity. We started him on a simple clove-steeped water ritual 20 minutes before his largest meal. Within 10 days, his food comas disappeared. He was finally getting the energy out of his food instead of spending all his energy trying to process it. Cloves have powerful antimicrobial properties. Think of them as a security guard for your gut. They help keep harmful bacteria and yeast in check while allowing your beneficial flora to thrive. When your gut is clean, your systemic inflammation drops. And when inflammation drops, your joints feel smoother, your skin looks clearer, and your morning stiffness begins to vanish. You aren't turning 20, you're simply removing the biological friction that makes you feel 70. Here's the part most people miss. Eugenol is fat-soluble. If you take it on a completely empty stomach with nothing else, you won't absorb much of it. But if you pair it with a small amount of healthy fats, like the omega-3s in your breakfast or a bit of olive oil, the bioavailability skyrockets. You move from absorbing 10% to absorbing 80%. But there's a deeper reason cloves are trending in men's health circles right now, and it has to do with the big T. Whole cloves aren't a hormone replacement. They play a very specific role in how your body senses testosterone. Is your digestive system working for you as an energy factory, or is it working against you as an energy drain? Let's address the elephant in the room. Testosterone. Every man over 50 is looking for that fountain of youth when it comes to his hormones. Now, I want to be very clear as your doctor, chewing on 3 cloves is not a replacement for TRT, and it's not going to double your testosterone levels overnight. Anyone telling you otherwise is selling you a fantasy. However, there is a fascinating biological relationship between cloves and how your body utilizes the hormones you already have. Think of testosterone like a radio signal and your cells like the antenna. As we age, the signal might stay okay, but the antenna gets rusty. In urology, we call this androgen receptor sensitivity. If your receptors are clogged by inflammation or oxidative stress, it doesn't matter how much testosterone is in your blood, your body can't hear the message. Eugenol, the star compound in cloves, acts like a cleaner for those antennas. It helps reduce the oxidative noise, allowing the testosterone you do have to land and do its job. Building muscle, sharpening your mind, and maintaining your drive. Still with me? This understanding of hormone balance is key to long-term vitality. There is a seesaw in your body. On one side is testosterone, and on the other is cortisol, the stress hormone. When cortisol is high, testosterone is forced down. Cloves have been studied for their adaptogenic potential, meaning they help the body manage the stress response. By gently lowering the volume on your stress levels, cloves help tip the seesaw back in favor of your masculine vitality. I remember a patient, Mark, aged 56. His blood work showed his testosterone was in the normal range, yet he felt zero motivation and had lost his physical edge. He was frustrated because his previous doctor told him, "Everything looks fine." We focused on lifestyle shifts and added the Clove Protocol to address his systemic inflammation. A month later, he told me his drive had returned. His levels hadn't changed much on paper, but his body was finally responding to the signal again. Beyond the daily feeling, cloves contain minerals like manganese and vitamin K, which are essential for bone density. As testosterone naturally dips, men's bone health becomes a silent concern. By supporting your mineral intake and reducing the inflammatory fire that eats away at bone and muscle tissue, you're playing the long game. You aren't just trying to feel 20 today, you're ensuring you feel strong at 70 and 80. Now that you understand the why, we have to discuss the how. There is a specific preparation method that separates a culinary habit from a clinical health protocol. If you miss this step, you're literally flushing the benefits away. Why settle for having normal blood work when you could actually have a body that responds with the energy and drive of a man 10 years younger? If you walk away from this video and just start swallowing whole cloves like pills, you're going to be disappointed. The human stomach is not designed to break down the dense woody fiber of a whole clove bud efficiently. To get that eugenol into your bloodstream where it can actually work on your arteries and mitochondria, you have to unlock the spice. The most effective way to use cloves for vitality is to create what I call a warm infusion. You take exactly 3 whole cloves, no more, as excessive eugenol can actually irritate the liver, and you lightly crush them. You don't want to grind them into a fine powder, just crack the outer shell to release the essential oils. Place those 3 cracked cloves in a cup of hot but not boiling water. If the water is too hot, you'll evaporate the volatile oils, the very things that provide the feeling of energy. Let them steep for 10 minutes. You'll notice the water turn a pale amber color. This is the signal that the bioactive compounds have migrated from the woody bud into the liquid. Still with me? This attention to the ritual is what transforms a kitchen spice into a clinical tool. When should you drink it? I recommend the morning window. Drinking your clove infusion about 20 minutes before or after your breakfast is ideal. Why? Because, as we discussed, pairing it with the healthy fats in your morning meal, whether that's eggs, avocado, or nuts, drastically increases absorption. Furthermore, the circulatory boost you get from the cloves will peak just as you're starting your workday, giving you that mental edge when you need it most. If you're a man on the go and don't have time for tea, you can chew them. But don't just swallow. You must chew them slowly, allowing the oils to mix with your saliva. This allows some of the compounds to be absorbed directly through the sublingual tissues under your tongue, bypassing the first-pass metabolism of the liver. Be warned, it is a very strong, numbing sensation. That tingle you feel, that is the eugenol actively working on your oral microbiome and nervous system. Don't expect to feel 20 again after 1 cup. Biology takes time to recalibrate. I ask my patients to commit to a 21-day trial. It takes about 3 weeks for the antioxidant levels in your tissues to reach a steady state and for your microcirculation to consistently stay open. By day 14, most men report that the afternoon slump is less severe. By day 21, the morning stiffness is usually significantly reduced. However, there is a group of men who should never use this protocol. Because cloves affect blood flow and glucose, they can interact with certain common medications in ways that might surprise you. Are you willing to trade 5 minutes of morning preparation for a 21-day transformation in how your body responds to the day? Before you begin, we must talk about professional responsibility because cloves are so effective at improving circulation, they can act as a natural blood thinner. If you are already taking medications like warfarin, clopidogrel, or even daily aspirin, you must consult your physician first. Likewise, because cloves can influence blood sugar sensitivity, men on insulin or metformin should monitor their levels closely. Natural power requires natural respect. If you want to maximize the 3-clove reset, don't let it work alone. Pair it with what I call the vitality stack. Drink 10 ounces of water before your clove tea to prime the kidneys. Get 5 minutes of sunlight in your eyes while drinking your infusion to set your circadian rhythm. Ensure your breakfast has at least 30 grams of protein to stabilize the energy the cloves are unlocking. Aging is not a disease, and feeling older is often just a sign that your biological communication is lagging. 3 cloves won't magically make you 20, but they can help you feel like the most optimized version of the man you are today. You are clearing the rust from your engines, opening your pipes, and sharpening your digestive scissors. If this evidence-based approach to a traditional remedy made sense to you, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that men over 45 want science, not hype. For more deep dives into prostate health, testosterone, and longevity, join our community by subscribing to the Men's Vitality Hub. We are building a library of knowledge for the man who refuses to settle for normal aging.